All right, good night, everybody. Tonight is the December 11th, 2023 Lakeville Select Board meeting. We've got members Fabian, Carboni, and Day in attendance. Is there anybody besides LakeCAM recording the meeting this evening? Seeing... What's that? Okay, but not from start to end. So Nemasket may record portions of this for their reporting. All right, other than that, we will then move on to select board announcements. At our last meeting, we had mentioned that, let me pull it up here, get the right dates. At Old Colony, they were gonna have the Legally Blonde production going on. They've had a change of dates, but the times we said last time are the same. The new dates are January 12th, 13th, and 14th, and that was the only announcement I had this evening. Did other members have anything they'd like to announce? No, okay. Ari, do we have any town administrator announcements tonight? I know it's a special meeting.
This is a special meeting. I do have one announcement, just came in late last week, that you might, the board would be happy to hear.
Sure.
We received a grant award from the state for $44,075 under the Community Compact IT Grant Program to move our internet circuit from Town Hall to Police Headquarters, install second circuit for redundancy, and establish an automatic failover to the backup ISP if the primary ISP goes down. Chairman Day will understand that better than I will. But anyway, just to give some context, that brings our total receiving community compact grants since 2021 to $326,298. So we're doing pretty well in that respect.
Nice.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you for putting that work in. I know you and Green Rivers have been working on that. Okay, item number 3, discuss some possible vote to approve the select board minutes of November 29th, 2023. I did not have any changes from that evening. Did anybody else have anything?
So I'll make a motion to approve the select board meeting minutes of November 29th, 2023. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all members in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye, thank you. Number 4 is a hearing for 6:15, so we've got a little under 45 minutes. So we'll move on to number 5, discuss some possible vote to approve ARPA funding request from the Park Commission for the Gamache Playground in Northfield's parking lot project. So, I know we've got a couple parks reps here. Would you like to speak to this for us?
Which one did you want to start with?
Gamache is listed first. Let's hit that.
Well, the walkway for the Gamache playground is the biggest piece that we have left to do. And I sent you guys all the numbers, and we've gone back and forth, like we've been debating this for months now, whether to do all pavers or just the walkway from the parking lot to the entrance as concrete and then pavers inside the park. So we thought that keeping the pavers all inside the park, the playground, would be fine. We definitely want pavers in there. But the other walkway, it's a bigger walkway than you think it is. Like, that's 80 feet from the entrance to the parking lot, so it's a substantial amount of money. So we decided that we were all right with concrete. Like, they assured me that it was going to last. He puts rebar in, he does all kinds of things, so it's going to last just as long as pavers, if not longer. And if it doesn't, he'll come back out and fix it. And he was actually recommended by Frank, and that was Frank's preference. So, and we are absolutely okay with that because it's not actually in the playground. So,
Okay.
and that way we won't need any more money.
All right.
I spoke to Frank last week about this, and for a number of reasons, his preference is to have concrete in that area for maintenance purposes, and it just makes it easier for them to do the mowing and
Yeah.
the various work that they do.
Okay. All right. And are we pretty sure this is the last of it to get us to the finish line? Fingers crossed.
Well, the next biggest piece
There is
is
no
the
finish
sign, and Delarocco family is donating the sign, and it's already at the shop. We're just waiting for that. Like,
Okay.
he had started that before I even came on the Parks Commission, so I'm not sure of the details on it, but I know that is still the plan. So as long as the plan keeps going forward, we're all set.
Okay. Do we want to vote these separately?
It's probably a good idea.
You're gonna need more money for this one if you're okay with concrete, so there's no need for more to vote.
I would defer to DPW's preference, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too.
Lee, any thoughts?
No, I kind of like that we got their opinion, because is there any thought to doing like pavers that people could sponsor or something?
This is fun. Yeah, so, originally on Lakeville Day, we were gonna have a stand and sell those bricks, but like at the 10th hour, I talked to Ari and he's like, yeah, you can't do that. So because we're an enterprise fund and part of the town, we can't sell bricks like
Yeah,
that.
they can't, they could, a friends group or something could, but the town itself can't sell access that way to sponsors. Government can't do it. We checked with council on that.
Okay.
So that was our original, that's why the pavers for inside the playground weren't even on our budget, because that was our plan, and we were gonna use what profits we made to actually install them, but then we
Gotcha.
didn't. So,
'Cause I
the
think-
best laid plans.
Cause I think the Friends of the COA do the ones that they have,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Yep.
And same for the library.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It has to be the auxiliary group. Government selling, I guess, if you're just selling boutique access, it's not, government's not allowed to do that.
Okay, all right. Do we need to approve a specific number here where there is a difference, or the existing is fine if you go concrete, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Ari, what do you need from us then if there's no
Nothing.
changes?
Okay.
That's if,
So
if,
just
yeah,
Continue on.
yeah. If you're
Yeah,
comfortable
we
with
just wanted to run it
We
by
wanna
you,
check
because
in.
I would hate for you to pull up and be like, where'd this concrete slab come from? So we thought it was best to check with you before you
Okay, all
popped in.
right.
Great.
Appreciate you guys checking with DPW since they'll probably be maintaining that.
Yeah, like Frank's been a huge asset through the whole process.
Nice. Okay, then if there's no need for change in funds, I guess we can then move on to the North Fields project.
I promise I won't attack you. So if you look at this, just
Thanks.
basic. So you're gonna look at it this way.
So that's 18 now at the bottom here. Okay.
So, I don't know if you've driven by, but did you see the grading starting? They're starting to grade the parking lot.
I've heard they've begun, but not had a chance to see it yet.
Okay, so, we ran into a little bit of a roadblock, but we were able to get around it. The issue is that, he can grade it, but we can't put any drainage in it yet, because that water is gonna drain over to where the heritage, the environmental, so what we have to do, we signed an agreement in 2011, which is supposed to be updated every 4 years. We're supposed to give them a report. So we're going to do, in the spring, we're gonna do a turtle sweep, do the whole work, send them a report, then we're gonna be able to put the drain in there, because the water's gonna go in that area. But if you look at the diagram I gave you, on the first line, it says fencing, 23,190, which Southeast Fence already won the bid. As you can see, the fencing goes into that boot shape there. It goes all the way around. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we have the entrance sign. It says park sign up there. The park sign cannot go on the road because the only signs on there can be highway signs. So it's got to be set back like our park sign there. So I would like to get a sign that may look like that so we can put letters on it, but we'll discuss that on the parks. We also have to put 2 stop signs on the entrance, one facing out the road, one both facing out of the road so people know they stop. We also have, Frank's gonna clear the brush, the branches, so that when people look out, it's very hard if you go out there now. So he's gonna do that.
Okay.
We put in tree trimming at entrance 3,500 because there may be some larger branches that need to come down that Frank can't handle. And then if you go further down the road in the entrance, you'll see 2 slow signs, and they'll both be one this way and one this way, because when you have whatever games coming up the road, there's a curve there. We don't want people driving fast. There's if you look here, you'll see some dotted lines there. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
That's 100 by 100 area. There, inside there, they're gonna be picnic tables and our mobile bathroom that we had at John Pond. That'll be there. And like I said, there's a fence around it. Next to it, you'll see HC. Those are 4 handicap signs. One will be a van area. And on the other side, there'll also be 4 handicap signs. And then next to those signs, we're gonna put bleachers there. So that'll be easily accessible, thanks, for the people who are handicapped. Now, the bleachers will be inside the fence. We don't want people on the field. That could cause problems, and it'll be much more difficult for people to, if they have a wheelchair, to get on there. And then you'll see the parking lines. We'll be doing that. Obviously it's not tarred or anything, but there's lime and stuff that we can spread out, and that will last. So as you can see, with the fencing, entrance sign, bleachers, 4 picnic tables, tree trimming and parking, I guess we're asking for 35,000, correct?
Yes, because we asked for 50 because we didn't know there was a $15,000 balance.
14 and change, yeah.
How much is it changed? Do I need to get like 80 cents or something?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
There's 14,365 left in the project.
That's fine.
Somebody have any
That's
immediate
turtle sweet.
questions?
So all of this to the, well, coming in to the right of the driveway is just a catch basin, or what is that?
Now, where is it that you're looking, Lorraine?
It's this white area. This area here.
No,
Is that just greenery?
It's a hill.
it's just a hill.
It's a hill.
Yeah, the
Okay.
catch basin will be over to the left,
Okay.
because it's gonna be sloped all the way down to here. So it's gonna slope so that, there won't be any, puddles.
It was designed before my time, but I've heard that it was designed that way so that you can sit on the hill,
Oh.
and so you'll be able to see the games.
But we're not gonna do that, so.
Say, is there a fence along the top so I don't roll into the driveway?
Where you have the slow, perhaps we can put one of those,
Portable speed bumps.
yeah, like we have it here.
I don't think so, because it's gravel. I did talk to Clancy about that. I mean, we could maybe put up those rubber ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see where I like it, it's a great idea, but.
Because I know that, you're definitely gonna want the traffic to be really slow, and you've got a lot of,
Kids and so
outsiders
forth,
coming
yeah.
in, to town, and
So, once this is approved, then we can give, Southeast Fence a contract. He's working with Clancy on when to put it in, because we'd like the grading to be done first. And now, there's also a lot of telephone poles, which were there to protect the fields. He has taken those out because they're full of wires and creosote. So if you can't do the fencing after this because of the weather, we will keep the poles there, and then they'll be removed in the spring.
Question on the 100 by 100 area. I know it's kind of hard to show, but so that is on the inside of the fence,
Yes,
or I should say inside. Is that taking up what it looks like used to be parking spaces in this?
yes. Well, when the engineer did this, he did this parking for the max capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So, there are a lot of extra parking spaces, but we wanted something there so that, we had a place for the porta potty. Also, the dumpster is gonna be there, and picnic tables, and, it's easily accessible, for people who need to get in, because there'll be 1, 2, 3 gates there.
So the fence line is actually the hashed line, not the outside corner.
No, there'll be an outside and an inside.
Oh, but it is fenced.
It's all
that-
fenced, yeah.
Yeah.
Engineer is happy with the ability of vehicles to pass in this little area here.
Yep. There's plenty of space, talking to, the contractor. Listen, this is kind of exaggerated
Okay.
because it's not by scale, but there's
Oh,
a
all right.
ton of room over there.
Question?
Yep.
How do we line gravel fields?
Yeah, took it out of my mouth, yep.
Well, I would have to defer that to Mr. Holmes, who came up with an idea, but, it'll work.
There's supposed to be a line that you put down, and it should last for 3 months.
Yeah.
But does that mean $5,000 every 3 months?
Well, we didn't, we didn't put any money in for, oh, well, the parking
Parking
lines,
lines.
yes. This parking lines will last. I mean, if we do it every 3 months, we only have to do it once for the summer, depending on how busy it is, or maybe twice, but the parking lines isn't a figure for doing it once.
Wouldn't that be more of a maintenance budget though?
Down the road, yes.
I've never had a lined gravel
Right.
parking lot myself playing sports, so I'm having trouble visualizing it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we all
I-
make work
I-
on the big parking lot by the baseball field side.
Yeah, I mean, I had brought it up, we had brought it up that we don't really need lines. So that might still be the issue, but maybe if we put lines for the, handicap parking area. But we didn't wanna ask for the money and then say we can do it and then not have the money, so.
I mean, I would almost, well, let me ask a question first. My understanding, to be compliant, the handicap spots have to both be paved and lined
No.
for ADA compliance?
Yes, I had a meeting with Nate and the contractor. One, we can't pave down there because of the issue with the environmental people. We can only grade it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's putting down a very hard surface there. It's a grade, but it's rolled and rolled, and so it's gonna be easily, the point is, it's right next to this area here. So there's only about a 20, 30 feet area to go there, but it can't be paved.
Okay, because when we had the talk about the charging stations, did it come up that if there was something about putting them on the other side, and
other
we
side.
said we couldn't because the handicap lines would have to be lined and paved, and that area is not paved. So maybe our ADA officer can look into that.
We really don't have who's our ADA officer?
Gary?
All right.
Okay. Well, I have a copy of the ADA rules that we
Okay.
got from the state.
All right, it'd just be nice to get that solidified, since we did the plan and we're trying to keep that in mind with all of our projects.
Yeah,
I just feel like ARPA money is for things that are gonna last a long time.
more than 3 months.
Yeah, and lining the fields just doesn't,
It was an idea. I said.
I'm not saying it's
No.
not a good idea.
But-
I'm
but
just
we're not-
saying
We don't
that-
line any other fields here.
Right.
Unless they're paved, which we wouldn't do, but I think we can whether put cones or a stanchion or something there so people know, but as you know, any field you go to, people park the way they wanna park as long as they leave an area.
Yeah,
So,
Yep,
And it's only gonna be a problem if the 3 fields are actually used for like a tournament or something, for like day-to-day practices, and if the 2 fields being used, then that shouldn't be a problem, cause there's plenty of parking space, but then when you have to max capacity it out, that's when it'll become a
but
problem.
we can work with the leagues on a tournament to have people there as you would.
Parkers.
To have parkers, say park
Yeah,
here
yeah.
when you go to Gillette stuff, so.
yep, that'd be good. I mean, it's probably not necessarily to get the fields functional, but maybe after a season, you see how it works out, and then like, okay. maybe we
Yeah,
can
like
do
I
that.
said, I don't think we're gonna start with it. I think we'll go, but then if something comes up, we'll have the money for it, whether we have to buy stanchions or whatever.
Yep.
But
So my question is, the recommendation for the 35 net additional funding, would we have to just put another request through?
Well, you don't really, this is pretty much your one chance to use ARPA money on this project.
Right, so
After that, it's gonna have to go in their operating budget.
we have to come up with 35 grand,
Well, this is ARPA money.
right?
This would be our town ARPA money.
Right, that's what I'm saying here, that, based on the attached identified, 50,000 additional requests, which would require an additional 35,000.
Right. Yeah,
So
Well, the
maybe I'm
15's
not,
been
maybe I'm not
approved.
following this, but
well, you
have
have,
we already been awarded enough and it's within that?
yeah, if you look on the one page in, after my memo, give you a status update on ARPA. And you'll see, this is town ARPA money, because it's not eligible for the county funding. We have 910,000 unappropriated in ARPA money.
We didn't have to appoint a number on this project.
Right.
We can, if we chose to add another.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I just wanted to make sure that,
It wasn't a
understood.
county project. Yeah.
okay,
So the board is the determiners how much funding is allocated to this
Okay.
project. Yeah,
And that's 910 for that balance.
yeah, 110,488.
okay. So we would need a motion for the 35,000.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I would be more inclined to say 30 minus the parking lines, but everything else is gonna get it functional.
Well, like I said, we don't know what's gonna happen, and we may buy other equipment to the parking, and I don't wanna have to go into our budget, which who knows what it's gonna be, so. we
Well,
use it, we
it's,
use it.
it's league activity, so it should be, you know,
Right.
part of that operation.
Oh, best case scenario, but we gotta do the turtle sweep too, so we can maybe use some of that.
Love those turtles.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Brian, on that. I feel like everything else is something that concrete, we can point our finger at, we can say, this is what we did, but parking lines to me is more of a maintenance item, so I'm not really, inclined to use ARPA funds, which are supposed to be one-time funds for like one-time things.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times, and I know this is from our ARPA money, not the county, but the county would have totally kicked something back like that and said, that's not what this is for. I've heard that lecture so many times.
All right, does anybody want to make a motion one way or the other?
I mean, if we're also picnic tables too, but at least the picnic tables will stay there.
Well, they'll be there a long time.
Yeah.
All right, do we have a motion?
I mean, are we not,
It'd be 35 for the whole thing,
right,
30 minus the lines. This is already 15 in the leftovers.
all right, then I'll make a motion that, we approve an additional 30,000, funding for the North Fields.
Second, just with, discussion.
Yes?
I just wanna be sure that it's reflected that that's where the 5,000 is coming out from on the $30,000 motion.
Mhm. Yep, all other items to be done. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all members in favor?
I,
Aye, thank you. Looking forward
Thank
to
you
seeing this
very
done.
much for your
Thank
support
you,
on this
guys.
project,
Absolutely.
very much.
Appreciate all the work. Okay, it is 5:54, so still a little early for a hearing. So we have about 20 minutes, so. Ari, do you think 6 would be in 20 minutes or less, or 20-ish?
I think it's probably up to the board.
It's entirely up to the board.
You know,
Chief's here. Chief, want to give it a shot? See what we can do? All right. Yeah, call comes in like usual. Yes, sir.
I mean, I don't know who you are, this is my first time here, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm interrupting.
Welcome.
Is there any good way I can know your names and your titles?
Yeah, sure.
I've never been to one of these.
Well, thanks for coming tonight. My name's Brian Day. I'm the current chair of the select board.
You're a selectman?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yep.
And I'm Lorraine Carboni, I'm a select board member.
okay.
and Leah Fabian, the third select board member.
So it's only 3, right?
Yep.
Now? Okay.
Yeah, it'll be 5 next year, but 3 right now.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
I'm Michael Bryan, Fire Chief. How are you?
How you doing?
All right, number
I'm the
6.
Sky Town Administrator.
I know you.
Okay.
How you doing?
All right, we have discuss and possible vote to approve additional staffing for the fire department. So this goes back quite a ways. Chief has been doing a great job of feeding information and, you know, supporting what his staff really needs. Ari or Chief, would you like to bring us up to date on some of the newer information?
So I provided just an overview on funding. We did estimate out the cost of the proposal, which Chief will get into. It's basically 1 additional staff per shift. The cost for the remainder of FY '24 would be $172,708, $348,000 in '25 and $372,000 in '26, and that includes benefits, health insurance, an estimate of health insurance and so on. So that total amount is $893,515 if you go through FY '26. A couple different ways you could fund this if the board's so inclined. One would be through a Prop 2.5 override. I did some quick calculations on what kind of override we'd be talking about. Somewhere in the neighborhood about 10 to 15 cents, about 70 something dollars per year onto the average tax bill. And that would, of course, require going to town meeting and special election. You wouldn't be able to do that until the spring. The other possibility is to sign ARPA money. Of course, funding this entire nut would require essentially taking all of your ARPA money that you have left and putting it towards this. And then the other possibility is to direct staff to apply for a SAFER grant during the next round. You could designate ARPA as a contingency funding in the interim, but of course, if the SAFER grant doesn't come through, you have some risk there. So those are, if anyone thinks of any ideas I didn't think of, please let me know, but I think that pretty much sums it up.
Right, yep, okay. Chief, anything you'd like to share with us at this time?
So these cost estimates, we try to be doom and gloom, like give you the worst possible scenario. The assumptions are that every single new hire would be a paramedic. We would retain every single new hire, so they would get step raises as this estimate bore on. We didn't want to be, we didn't want to provide you with the, conservative data. We wanted to be aggressive about the cost. And one of the things that, we struggled with was providing the corresponding savings because we staff the fire department at 26,280 hours a year, straight time. That's 3 firefighters on around the clock, 24 hours a day. And what we're asking for is an additional 8,760 hours. Last year, or looking at historical data, if we had those numbers in place, we would have canceled out 4,000 hours of overtime because for leave. When you're operating at your minimum, every hour of leave is an hour of overtime. So what this represents is, from a financials perspective, stability. I can control overtime a little bit better. It's predictable what we're going to spend each year. From a budget perspective, the likelihood of me coming to you for transfers becomes less. There'd have to be some kind of catastrophic event like 5 people leave all at once and turnover, or major absence due to injury or illness, something like that would cause me to request a transfer, not dealing with call volume and leave. That's the benefit that would probably be very important to planning and function of the town. The other piece of this is the operations. Currently, we have 1 ambulance staffed with a 3rd person. So we had a recent CPR. We had as many as 6 people dedicated to that. And so we deal with that unknown whether or not those 6 people, those 4 people or 3 people are going to be available to come from off duty to help these firefighters at the scene of a CPR. It's a gamble. And so what you'll have in operations is you have the certainty of having 2 ambulances staffed for routine calls, or 1 ambulance staffed for trauma code or a medical code. You'd have that certainty of being able to dedicate all the necessary resources from the people in the building to that major event that just happened at whatever location in the town. So it says huge significance operationally, a huge upgrade operationally. It also, if there's a fire right now, we have 1 truck going out of the station with 3 people on board. We will have an incident commander until the deputy or I arrive, and we have 2 people to deploy the line and operate the pump. With 4 people, now we'll have 2 pieces of apparatus leaving the station immediately on the 911 call for a fire, which is significant. That's takes that uncertainty out of the picture. You know what you're going to get for the first 5 minutes of that fire. So significant upgrade there. The third factor that I would like you to consider is very difficult to measure, and that's called, I would say it would be wellness, employee wellness. It takes, and to be honest, there's a bunch of people in the fire department who contribute a little bit, and there's some that don't contribute enough, and that's something for me to deal with from a managerial perspective. And then there's a small group of people who will go to the point of breaking. They will exhaust themselves emotionally, physically, and they won't stop coming back. And I think as the leadership, the appointed and elected leadership of the town, I have a problem with pushing people to that point. Just because they're willing to doesn't mean we should. And it's we know where we're going. We know that the rate of call volume has escalated significantly after COVID. The playing field has changed forever. People call us for reasons beyond what they called us before. We've seen 20% increase in car accidents. We've seen our medical calls go up. We're averaging a 10% increase in call volume every year. We're quickly getting to a crisis situation. And that is about what we're dealing with now. It's not even in consideration about some of these projects that are being floated around town. One such project that, by our estimation, would add more than 400 calls a year to us. This is the stuff that I lose sleep over, because I can't imagine putting my core group through that, and that's under the current staffing model. That's what I'm doing, and that's what I'll be expected to do. Something's going to give, something's going to break. I'm sorry to maybe I should shut up, but
Never.
I know this is expensive. I am, and maybe arrogance, but and maybe I'm a victim of my success, but I'm optimistic about safer grants and things like that, because I haven't failed to ever get a grant approval that I applied for. You know, we failed as a department 1 or 2 times, but I've never failed personally. So I've like that attitude that I can't be beat. Well, you know, is there a possibility that we fail? Maybe. But there's the cost that you see before you is the worst case scenario, and it does not account for the deletion of 4,000 hours of overtime to cover leave, and that's significant. That discounts this overall cost considerably. One of the key factors to all this is that by policy, right now, it doesn't matter who takes leave and when they take leave, because it all costs me money, costs me overtime. But what changes with that buffer, that one extra person in each group, is the policy becomes that only one person's allowed on leave at any given time, scheduled leave. I can't control sick leave. And so that takes away that corresponding overtime expense when somebody takes vacation. And probably one of the biggest factors is the people that stand to lose the most financially, my core group, are 100% behind this. They're the people that are going to take a significant pay cut in overtime. That money that's being taken away from them is going to be spread out to more responders, and they back the program because they know that their quality of life is suffering, and they know that their current situation is not tenable, it's not sustainable.
Safer grants are, termed, right?
3 years.
They're a competitive grant. They last 3 years, and they pay for salary and benefits for staffing. And how you achieve or you have a successful application is to connect it to a standard or an NFPA standard. So in our case, we are not compliant with 2 in, 2 out, which means that before you make an attack on a fire, you need 2 people on the outside ready to rescue the 2 people that just went in. And we can't comply with that because we don't have 4 people on duty at all times. So that would be the talking point of my entire grant. We need this money because we have Proposition 2.5. We have limitations to how we can raise funding for our staffing needs. And so we're boxed in, but we need to comply with this rule for the safety of our firefighters and the safety of our civilians. That's my entire grant application right there. And this is what it costs. And it's a 3-year award, and you can keep on applying like at the expiration of that 3 years, you can reapply to extend funding.
Could you help us understand when does the next round of grant opportunity open, and when are they typically awarded?
We should expect it in probably early February, January, and I'm not sure about the award announcements, but I think they usually come over the summertime. They do rounds of awards. Basically, they score the grants, and the grants with the highest scores, you get your notification first, and sometimes those grants are rejected, which changes the pot of money, and so other grants are added at the tail end. So they'll do it in rounds, and then they wait for the acceptance, and then they do another round and wait for the acceptances.
And do you put in for example, these numbers that you've prepared for us with Ari and Todd and everybody, would you put in for those numbers, or is it possible they give you a grant but it doesn't cover the whole thing, so you then need to make up part of it?
So one of the things I would have to go to, we call it the chief network, and ask all the questions about, is we have a training budget. Could I submit for the cost of training these firefighters? We have monthly trainings where the whole department gets together and anybody off duty is compensated for their time. We have clothing allowance. So to me, the clothing allowance is part of their union contract. It's a benefit that should be included in the grant thing. But again, I would do my homework because I wouldn't want a grant to be rejected on me submitting bad numbers.
Mr. Chairman, to your point, as someone who's had some experience with SAFER, in my experience, they don't say, if you apply for 20 firefighters, they don't say, well, we'll give you 10. They either give you the 20 or they don't.
Yeah.
They don't, you know, give you partial funding.
I guess I didn't really understand if it's, if you're applying for a specific head count or a specific number that goes towards head count.
You are, you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, Chief, but you are required to provide a budget, and by the way, overtime's not eligible, but a budget for these positions and their carrying costs.
Okay.
And so the expectation is that you're providing them with a full budget for those positions.
And
Gotcha.
your highest rate of success, or your only way of succeeding, is to connect it to compliance with the standard. Like 2 in, 2 out.
So even if we do a SAFER grant, authorize you to go off and do that, I mean, it's probably summer or fall before you could really execute, because then you'd have to go through hiring and whatnot anyways.
So, I've been, I've talked to several folks, and a few folks have said to me, well, you know, you guys used to go to Middleborough all the time, and I'm like, well, we don't do that anymore. We've had many talks about how we've cut down where we go for mutual aid. I've also reached out, so I do see that between you and the deputy, you have really worked on making a lot of efficiency in our own department. I have reached out to a couple of counterparts of mine, peers, and I believe Freetown is operating with 4.
Currently?
And I think Freetown, so that's what we're asking for. That's what you're asking for, is for. And I don't even know that they have the high call volume like we do.
No.
And the only reason why, you know, going to 4, I think it almost becomes a necessity is, because we just had a plan presented to us last week of 400 more units, and I don't think we can wait until, I think we have to put a lot of thought into how we get there, but I don't think it's a question of whether we get there or not. I think it's how we get there, with all the research that I've done and the meeting last week with, you know, that presentation of an assisted living component, also with memory care, which requires a whole lot of reliance on our town ambulance system. And I was actually quite surprised. I thought that Freetown was only operating with 3, and it was their expectation or hope that they could go to 4, but from what I understand, someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but they're already at 4.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like we're behind the curve right now. And
What's significant is they've gone from 2 to 4 within a really small window. They've done it in the last year and a half, 2 years. And that's just, it's responding to the same issue that we're dealing with. It was the spike in call volume, the simultaneous calls. And thank you for reminding me about comparables, because the data's a little bit old now, but we were 35th out of 41 comparables in staffing based on ratio. So we're at the bottom of the pile. And one more piece to this is that my call firefighters have changed in characteristics. Like they used to be, they were call firefighters, and that's all they ever wanted to be. They were town residents that dropped what they were doing when anything went wrong. And now I have some really experienced call firefighters at the top, and then I have this giant gap in the middle, and then I have a bunch of kids that are building resumes to become full-time firefighters someday. So the value of the call fire department has decreased because of just their capability. They're not there yet, and so that puts an extra burden on my full-time force.
Leah, you said you mentioned that you spoke to some other kind of some other places. Who else did you speak with?
not willing to say. just other select people that I know.
She's-
But I did
she's
talk
checking my
to-
work.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of people don't like to share some of this information.
It's actually, I'm
you know?
embarrassed to say that I thought Freetown was at 3. I knew they were going to 4, but I didn't know when.
I did check with Carlos. He said I could use his name in Freetown, and he said that they're at 4. So, you know,
I think their population is less than ours, and I think they do about 75% of the calls that we do.
yeah, I
I'm
didn't ask
guessing, but I
him
think
for
that's about
that
right.
information. But I mean, the things that I know is, you know, we've reduced our mutual aid to Middleborough, which was kind of a big, you know, responsibility for us. And we all, I don't know if we agreed, but I think we all said that, you know, we believe in the mutual aid program. I just don't know how we get folks the services they want if we don't start working on the problem right now. That's,
Yeah, and after last week, looking at, given it's a very early look, we're looking to be in $250,000 in the hole to start without this added in.
Right.
And concerns about the schools.
right.
Chief, if I could ask from just a fact-finding mission here, is there any value to 2 people? Do you have certain shifts that are always way more nuts than others, or is it really, does that just not work?
It's something I've thought about. When I first got here, we used to have an impact shift. And the impact shift made absolutely no sense whatsoever because they work during the daytime. And daytime, the deputy's always there, or I'm always there, or both of us are there. And so just today, it's Pam and Mike on the ambulance racing out on the second call. It's just how we operate. And usually Greg zooming in right behind us to make sure one of us gets off the ambulance and gets to go back to work. It's not a good model because it's not when the help's needed. But if you put them in at night, when the worst of the worst calls happen, and the chiefs are coming in from home now to go to those worst of the worst calls, so we're a little bit delayed. They're not getting the training, they're not getting the exposure, and the reality is that we're struggling to recruit and retain. So why would these firefighters come on board to work this awful shift when they can go one town over and work a normal shift for equal or more money? So I'm not saying the other option is to have 2 groups of 4 and 2 groups of 3, and it provides, all right, we're only going to be crazy 50% of the time, and we'll be a little bit more secure and stable 50% of the time. It's not optimal, but it's at this point, what do I do?
Well, I mean,
it's that desperate,
Would that even give you consistency over scheduling though? Because I mean, so vacation or day off request comes in when you only have 3, now you're back to back filling that, so.
Expenses go down, but the overtime expenses go up. So we kind of cancel out the predictability of my budget. We have dual sets of policies for leave. We have dual sets of policies for responding out the door. All right, so this shift and that shift, we're going with 2 apparatus. And, we're responding to calls for unresponsive people with 4 firefighters, but not if this shift's working, it's only 3, and call people in from home. So it's all those complications that make operations very difficult. And when you're dealing with a young crew, what you try and do as a manager is make very simple, very structured guidelines for them so they don't mess up. And so when you give them all these variables to consider for situational staffing or situational response, it's a big ask for some of them, I guess. I get what you're saying. I don't want to be all or nothing, but there is a correlation between the benefit and to all the things that I just mentioned and the number that we've asked for.
I do appreciate all the data that's here that you've presented. I mean, if anything, your staff should know that you continuously go to bat on this issue for them. It's not for lack of trying, for sure. I think we find ourselves in a really awkward financial position now and with the coming year. I mean, even if it were a safer grant, it sounds like we'd have to carry the rest of 24 and probably half of 25. So then you're still looking at about, call it 350 between now and when a safer grant might kick in. That we'd have to come up with somewhere. Or would you say an override's around a dime in rate?
350? This is about 13 cents, I believe, is what I came up with.
13-ish
I
cents.
think it's what I came
give or
up with,
take.
yeah, yeah. Based on the current assessment, which is, you
Right,
know,
right.
again, it's a shifting number.
I just, I guess to really give it context, I'm aware of, when I came here, I knew I was heading to, despite the best effort of some of my predecessors, I was coming to the department in crisis. I knew that I would have to fix things, and the staffing issue was never, it's not a surprise. It's something that I've been verbal about and I've set the table for a while. And in my perfect world, I would have taken care of the building problem before the staffing problem, but things don't stay the same. The demands there, the crisis there. I see the behavior stuff that's going on, the stress that's going on my responders, the change in their demeanor and the little deficiencies, or I don't know how to, I don't want to throw them under the bus, but I see the strain it's taken on them, and I see what it's doing to our mission capability, and it makes me less optimistic about our future. And then when you're less optimistic about the department's future, you have to really think about, you really makes you, it takes the wind out of your sails for sure. It makes you kind of think about the sacrifices you've made in the last few years, and you have to kind of take account of everything and see and decide if it was worth it, you know. That's kind of what, just sharing my frame of mind right now, and I know it's shared by several members of the department as well.
Well, I mean, in a lot of cases, it's okay to throw overtime money at a budget because you're picking up the anomaly. Let's say someone was out sick for a long period of time, or it's a consistency. It's consistently, I mean, we just put more money into the overtime budget at town meeting. So that's telling right there.
It's for the same reasons that we have difficulty filling committees out in town. We have workers, it's just a change in culture. It's that when they put their time in, they work their hours and they go home, and they're not coming back. And that's just the way it is now, not for just Lakeville, it's for everywhere. And so when we throw overtime at this problem, or we want to answer the problem with overtime, it's the same 4, 5, 6 people that carry that burden and carry all the strain. And I just not comfortable with working these people to breaking, and it's just not something I'm comfortable with presiding over.
Well, of the three options here, not that there couldn't be a mix of some, I mean, is the board comfortable, I don't know if we need to authorize you or not, but, just saying, go ahead and apply for a SAFER grant, because if anything, that would potentially defer any other method we come up with.
Yeah, you can certainly do that. That wouldn't solve the problem right now.
No, it wouldn't.
But that would certainly give you a policy stance that you're moving toward it.
I think what's brought us here today is just the escalation is just brought about, like this is something that's like an immediate need. And to me, like a combination of the two would be probably the most beneficial and practical. The ARPA and the grant application, let me have a shot, and if I fail, I fail. But I just...
The challenge is, I think nobody sitting up here, and certainly yourself, wouldn't want to have to let people go if we
Right.
fail on the grant.
I thought about
and
that.
then put the department back to 3.
Right.
I've thought about that. I mean, my job is to answer calls, and I can't pick and choose what calls I answer. And there'll be a year that I have increased my capacity to answer those calls. And as unpleasant and distasteful as it would be to have to let somebody go, my job is to do the best I can within the limitations of my budget. It's not to give somebody a job. And I hate that sounds cold and coarse, but it's the truth. It's we're here to save lives and do the best we can And that's how, I mean, it should give you a sense of the situation for me. That I'd be willing to lay somebody off in a year just to have extra people around for now.
So could I just ask, just like an operational question? So let's say we have 3 people on and there's a 2-car accident near the pharmacies on that side of, so let's say I have medical at my house, which is South Kingman Street. You could call Freetown, right? But then I'm waiting for Freetown to get to my house, right?
With
I'm
Freetown's-
just asking.
With Freetown's new numbers, that it used, my reply a half hour ago would have been like, they're in the same boat we are. They're not the best staff department in the world, but apparently they have 4 on duty. So the problem with Lakeville is we're so big.
Yeah.
36,
But I mean, it's
36
still-
square miles. It takes an outside department forever to get to a house in there. So what would happen, my response, if I was at that car accident and the dispatcher, when it happens about 350 times a year that he does that when we're on calls, he calls us again and says, we have another one. I have to make a choice. And I look at my phone because I can see who's coming in. And if I think that these people are trained enough to handle your call, that I'll send them. And that phone might be empty because you never know. You might get 8 people and you might get 1 or you might get none. So I have to look at my phone and see who's coming in, and then make a call, make a judgment call whether or not you're better served by an outside department or by us with these callback people. And you have to know where these people live and how far out they are from the station. And so there's a lot of what ifs and considering the
So they
situation.
could be as equally as far away as.
Oh, yeah. And that's the same uncertainty that you guys deal with my budget and the overtime at the end of the year is the same uncertainty that I deal with our callback system.
Every day.
It's inefficient. You throw out a huge net and you might capture 1 person or you might get too many. And it's very inefficient way of spending money to staff the fire department. And the more we move towards on-duty staffing and we get away from that callback model, the more predictable my budget becomes and the more efficient we are with using our resources.
I think the challenge here is we've held a level services budget for the last few years, so there's not much to cut if we really had to. I'm certainly not financial policy-wise, I'm not a huge fan of using one-time funds to fund what turns into an operational cost. That's not good, and we've criticized others for doing the same thing. I'm just over here trying to think of any possible short, because the need is now, and most of these options don't get you what you need until 6-12 months from now. Or do you know, not that it would be the same this year, do you remember how much of the reserve fund we used last year in the end? That's usually 150 or so.
Yeah, it wasn't, we had about 120 left at the end of the year.
Last year.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a combination of perhaps asking FinCom to consider part of that towards the end of the year if we chip in a little bit of ARPA? I don't know.
That might help you.
None of it's good.
That might help you through 24.
Right, 25 is,
25.
you're looking
Yeah,
at
you're looking at.
We're looking at
an override.
record
or-
low new growth number.
I know.
So,
I know maybe
Yeah.
I'm overestimating the popularity of the fire department, but if anybody could ever successfully navigate an override, I think people understand how we just juggle and we bounce from call to call and
Yep.
we try to do the best we can with what we have.
No, you're a popular department. I also don't want to put you in a position where you've got a lot of things we're asking for in a short amount of time. But I think, all of the run rates and such that you've showed us is just proof that things are expanding and you do need these things that you're asking for. The town has grown at a rate that our services haven't. And we don't want to burn everybody up. There's no sure things in any of these options. That's the challenge. Ari, if we did float the idea of an override, and I understand that they are not popular, that would go in effect for FY '25.
Right. have to do a special election.
Right.
It would go in for FY '25, yeah.
I mean, the way the numbers look right now, it might be forced that direction anyways. What do my colleagues think? I mean, between now and FY '25 is a challenge. This is,
Right. That's where I mean, I know we're entering the budget cycle right now, so we'll
Mhm.
be able to engage, you know, our counterparts in, you know, creative discussion, but,
It's kind of it's not something that I want to promote, but one of the things too that really we have to deal with or consider is the fact that the natural attrition rate, the turnover that we've seen, you know, the way we lose people around here, it may not even come to layoffs if it looks like things are going south.
right.
That's the dysfunction that we're dealing with.
well, I, for one, would like to see our chief pursue the SAFER grant
Mhm.
regardless. And then we still have to flesh out the rest of, you know, what we can do this year.
I mean, the ARPA money, December 24, it has to be attributed to
Mhm.
something.
It has to be appropriated by '24, so you could spend that money through, you know, '26,
Right,
as long as you have it appropriated.
yeah. But nobody's come forward with really any new big,
Well,
Plans.
and I know the Parks Commission has some ideas.
Yep.
There's a Clear Pond Park, which, you know, I've talked about a few times. They've been looking at the possibility of some work at John Pond Park. Of course, the funding source of that's not really determined at this point.
okay.
Those would be the two major ones that I could think of.
And we just approved the money for the engineering of John Pond, right? At town meeting.
Yeah, that was, CPA money, yeah.
Do they have any ideas on when that might actually
That's
execute?
probably a 6-8 month process, I would think.
Okay, so that doesn't help.
Yeah.
And Clear Pond, we haven't heard anything yet. So that's similar position
Right, Clear
then.
Pond Park is still going through the scope design with layout with the consultant in the Park Commission, so
Mhm.
it's not really off the ground yet.
Yep.
Hmm.
I mean, I've got confidence you could get us that SAFER grant.
Yeah.
But it's just the scary thing of what happens if we don't because of something outside of your control. What do we do then? Cause then we'd have to carry about 350 between FY '24 and, well, no, it'd be 348 and 25 and 172 and
Well,
24.
or you could, I mean, just throwing it out there, you could, if you could, go for the SAFER grant, you don't get the SAFER grant, then plan on hitting for an override in FY '26.
Yeah, it's the between now and then though that,
Yeah. My point being that you're not committing all your ARPA money in either case.
that's a good point,
More of it, but not all of it.
right? Yeah. Thoughts, Leah? Magic answer, please?
There's no magic answer, but I will say this, as someone who had, you know, the need for ambulance service for, you know, several times over the course of 3 years, many years ago, from the time you call till the time they show up is like the longest 3 or 4 minutes in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just for me. That didn't have anything to do with my kids, you know. I can only imagine it's longer if you're waiting for your kids, for an ambulance for your kids, which thankfully, you know. So I really want to, and of course, I'm not scared. I'm almost petrified because we add in, and Freetown's got a lot of their own new housing units too. So, you know, our mutual aid.
When was the last time somebody was added?
COVID.
COVID.
They
Temporaries.
we had 2.5 people per shift, and they added a half a person.
Half a
Well,
person.
That got actualized into the operating budget in '22.
Okay.
For 23.
But COVID aside, since that was a unique circumstance.
But they did use one-time funding to.
Who's cares that?
Yeah, use
Yeah,
CARES
CARES
Act.
Act.
Right.
And we absorbed the rest of it, so the
Yeah.
staff stayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also had pretty good new growth, so.
Yeah, so there's not a
Yeah,
lot
that's the
to-
challenge, is we enjoyed a lot of the
Right.
growth the past few
thing-
years.
The thing that, I don't know about the impact is I don't know what impact it would have on our revenue. I haven't got my head around
On the,
on the EMS revenue. We're holding our own. I think we're above, actually ahead of pace now for the year, last year. And that's because of the rate changes that we did and some of the policy changes that the
Yep.
state did. And so even with, we have a 95% reduction in Middleborough calls, mutual aid calls. And even with that loss, those lost run numbers, we've kind of made up for it with our own call volume increase in town.
which is the part that scares me, is that, you know, we
Yeah.
lost.
We're still marching along, still growing.
Are you, I mean, you mentioned it, but your call volume numbers, I mean, your call firefighters, how many do you have currently on the roster?
20.
And what is your comfortable level?
I think I'm budgeted for 20. It's kind of a funny number because I have some call volume, call people that they only come back 3 or 4 times a month, and then I have some that come back 16, 17 times. So we usually stay within our budget as far as call payroll expenses. We haven't spent that all yet. It's typically very young kids, and what it's become is almost a farm system for our full-time positions.
Right. I don't have my golden answer either.
Yeah, I mean, another thing as we get into budget season would be to look at the capital improvement plan and see what on there, is there anything that falls more under the want to haves than the needs to haves? I'm just trying to think of anywhere we can move money around. It's gonna be tight to begin with. Do you, because this is something I would look at if I was applying. I mean, if we were to come up with a way to figure out funding for the rest of FY '24, so through June 30, do you think people would apply,
I have people ready to go.
even if it was 6 months?
I have people ready to go. They're aware of the situation. They're watching it right now. They're watching it right now on LakeCAM.
No pressure.
Unfortunately, I've had three people leave for various reasons. One, health, a resignation to go to another department, and one that just left the service completely. And so I had to replace them. And so it was trying to be efficient, cast a big net and see what we could find. And I advertised a couple of times, and I lined people up for the eventuality that these people would be needed.
Okay.
So when we hire people now, they have the EMS training, but I know that there have been instances where they've gone to an academy, so we hire them, they go to the academy and they're off the grid for, I don't know, how long?
10 weeks.
10 weeks.
Yeah. So among this group that we're looking at, there is a mix of 2 medics. There's a mix of firefighters that are coming from other departments. So they already have the academy, they don't have to go. And we have some that have Caldwell Academy, so they have their certificate, so they don't have to go. The biggest change in all this from way back 4 or 5 years ago is that I'm forced to hire medic students because there's a medic shortage. So medics are the golden, the big catch, they're the big catch. That's what everybody's looking for. They can basically write their own ticket. So.
I mean, we were quite the revolving door for a while and paying for people, but we addressed that actually in a contract. So even that we've worked on,
We've actually had significant improvement in turnover. It's still crappy level of turnover, pardon my expression, and nothing that I'm ready to be proud of, but it's gotten better. It's nothing I'm gonna wave a flag for and draw attention to.
Yeah.
We know the importance of this, but, not being able to make a decision on this tonight, I do recommend that we direct the chief to pursue the SAFER grant, and then we bring it back for discussion, during our, with the finance committee.
Could, I mean, that's gonna be, you know, we're looking then at 9 months with no change, really. Just trying to think of
So
anything.
with what we just voted for the parks, do
Yep.
we have enough money left in our ARPA?
Is that the first or second tranche,
Tranche.
Ari?
It's the first tranche. Technically, probably don't have enough, but it's really close.
Well, when we
So
say.
910 minus 35 is 875, 893. It's really close.
Well, I mean, were you asking for all 3 years? Is that enough? Or
No,
just-
no, just the 1 year.
Oh, yeah, no, you definitely have, yes, you're
Yeah.
fine as far as that goes, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I'm just trying to strategize it all over here, and none of it's great, right? I mean, I think all of us up here agree that one-time funds to fund operational is generally bad policy.
So,
But then we could try to float an override to see what happens going into the next fiscal year if we want. You could try applying for the SAFER grant and hopefully get that. An underride is an actual thing. If people wanted to hold us in check, or we could even come out and say, okay, we met our target, we could try to come up with an underride even to pull back.
one of the things that I don't get enough attention is this gonna be this is gonna be like almost like an analysis period. All right, there's two thoughts here. Like, you don't have to bite the whole apple off at once as far as authorizing the ARPA thing. You can get me to a decision point where we have to decide whether or not we're gonna go with an override, we're gonna continue with ARPA, or for a little bit longer, or, you know, or our SAFE grant was successful.
Right.
And the other aspect to this is the budget's gonna change drastically. So now, I'm guessing what's gonna happen to our overtime expenditure. Now we're gonna know, we will have solid numbers to
Yeah.
to really solidify the budget. So, to me, like, it's, instead of considering what our next 3 years are gonna be like, why are we consider what the next year is gonna be like? And recognize the fact that we have a critical need tonight, right now, of being ready for what we know is gonna come. And that's gonna be, there's probably gonna be a tone overnight. There's probably gonna be people coming in from off duty to cover calls because we don't have enough people on duty. We know that's gonna happen. And it's gonna happen tomorrow too.
Do you think, you tell us, I don't want to give you a number. I mean, how much analysis time do you think there is to figure out some of these things? Is it going to take you all, like,
So the next 6 months are historically my heaviest leave usage. They burn up their leave before July 1. So typically, the last 6 months of the year are very expensive for me for covering people. So, you know, as far as looking from that 6 months to the previous last year, same time period, I'll have a good idea of where we're gonna be.
and,
We need to right-size the budget after this.
well, I was going to ask is, I mean, Ari, the budget's locked in earlier than that, but we did move town meeting to June officially.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that it's possible that this could be an analysis phase where you guys can lock in the budget a little clearer?
I mean, you're only gonna have a couple months of experience by the time you have to make a decision for the budget.
Right.
So I mean,
But
you'll know more than you know now, but it won't be enough to be definitive.
So we're looking at 173.
For the fiscal, yeah, for
Or by 24.
Yeah.
You know, I'm willing to, support going through the analysis, because you've heard us numerous times, again, with the overtime, having to transfer that in there. So that would give us a really good benchmark to see how that,
Call it a pilot project.
yeah.
The challenge then turns into, not to be Debbie Downer, because I like the analysis approach, is that if we go through the rest of the fiscal year, we're still not gonna know if SAFER's in play or not, right? So you're then gonna carry 3-4 months, maybe into next fiscal year.
You will know
figure
by
that
early
out.
spring whether there's gonna be an open round for SAFER.
I'll have my application in by early spring,
Right.
and I'll get an answer.
They
And
usually announce around March, I believe.
I thought it was a little bit later, but you could be right.
Yeah. So, you won't know whether you got it,
Yeah.
but you know whether,
So,
would-
in some ways, I feel like, even though we knew a little bit more about the new growth figures when we added the 2 positions through COVID, it was still very similar where, you know, selectmen were kind of shaking in their boots saying, okay,
Bad times are
chief,
coming.
you can have 2 more people because we understand what it is you're trying to do. What you were trying to do was divide the groups up, so if one group went down with COVID, the swing shift person wouldn't carry it to the other. And it was just as nerve-wracking, and even though we knew, you know, we were pleasantly surprised with new growth, that helped us absorb it in the budget. I almost feel like I'm in the same situation where I'm like, I know this has to happen, and, you know, I feel like I'm willing to take a risk to, you know, because I see what's down the road in 2026. I see units finishing up and more people moving in, and, you know.
We're products of our experiences. And after 31 years, I have to squelch myself. Like, I can't be you know, we're all gonna get hurt, we're all gonna die, but I know that bad things happen, and staffing makes all the difference in the world on these outcomes. They really do.
Well, people get burnt out. It's easy, you're human. It's easy to make a mistake.
And the people that are most loyal to the town are the people that are gonna get burned out. And that's tough to swallow.
I mean, I think what we're hearing so far is there's no other massive request coming ARPA-wise aside from what really is, you know, more capital projects. And I mean, honestly, if it's between burning out our firefighters or getting some new swings at Clear Pond, like, I think I know which way I'm gonna go. No disrespect to Clear Pond.
Swings are a lot of fun.
So respectfully to the board, it might make more sense if you're building this off of a safer, household safer application, to fund through, December 31st, 2024. And then next decision point comes if you don't get safer. Just a thought.
And could you figure
Well-
out that through the end of December?
We have it here, yeah.
Yeah.
We have it in,
Three
on
something.
the attachment, yeah.
I broke it down because of their step
And
raises.
172,708 through 24, and then 175,877 through December of 24. So it'll be those 2 together, 347 or so, and 48.
Oh, I see,
Yeah.
sorry.
That's right. So that, you know,
Well, I mean,
and we would just, that way you'd be set until you do or don't get safer.
yeah, the question then becomes, do we or do we not entertain the idea of an override? Because then if safer doesn't come through, you're then in the middle of FY25 looking for more money. So,
Oh, yeah, it's not great. I mean,
that's why I think I'd feel a little more comfortable saying, let's go through FY24 analysis phase, see how things work out. Maybe there's even data that comes out of there that goes into the fire station project, you know, staffing wise. And then we can get a sense a little closer on, does it feel like we should be raising the override flag possibility and see
Yeah.
where people stand?
Yeah.
Let
At
the
that point, you
residents
don't get
make the
the,
call.
you don't get the safer award, and I think probably what you do is you say, okay, well, you know, you have a choice. You can either continue to fund through the end of 25 and say, we're gonna do an override,
Mhm.
or you can say, sorry, we just can't go any further. And Mr. Chairman, with respect, it's your half hour past your.
Yes, I apologize and appreciate the patience.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, what do we think? Does anybody want to make a motion of some kind here? Or do you feel like you have enough information? We've got the 18th coming up as well. The numbers are.
I mean, I'm comfortable going through, you know, 2024 with
What is,
the pilot, so to speak, program, and then, encourage the chief. I'm sure the safer grant's already written, so as soon as they open it up, it's, you know, will be stamped, but.
one question I have is I see the 172,708 on the memo from URA.
Yep.
But then when I go to the spreadsheet,
There are 2 versions. One has a version which Todd put together,
Yeah.
has and the benefits cost.
does the 130 not have the benefits cost?
Correct.
Okay, so there's
District
42 in okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So 172 is the safer number.
Right?
Mhm.
And that's everything, clothing allowance, contractual obligations, things like that.
But it doesn't include potential savings.
Not at all.
No, so, you know, you can't
We
really,
wanna count our
can't do
chickens
that-
before
you
they're
can't do that in a
hatched,
safer
but,
Right.
you know.
you just can't do that in a safe.
They-
4,000 hours, my quick math
making
is
them
about
uncomfortable,
120
okay.
grand at least, but, you know,
Right,
Yeah.
so potentially you come back and say, hey, we saved 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand overtime or whatever, or something, hopefully.
Well, yeah, what will happen is if you get the safer grant after sometime in 28, when you're, looking at, you know, having to move this to regular, to general fund, hopefully if new growth has come back and you're, have some opportunity to do that, you'll be able to say you've realized, you know, these offsets as well, which will help, you know, make it a little more palatable.
yeah, we can't count on it, but
No,
keep it in the back of our
At
mind.
least we'll have data
Yeah.
to budget with.
and that makes future decisions easier to make.
Right.
Okay. What would an actual motion be to allocate 172,708?
Yeah, and ARPA funding toward, as a pilot project to expand,
Fire staff.
staffing the fire department to 4 per shift.
And
So moved.
Second,
again, I mean, quick discussion, not to rehash the same thing, but I mean, we all agree this is one-time
Yeah.
funding. This is not a typical thing, but to help prevent burnout and get more data and hopefully get some realized cost savings. I mean, I know you know it, but I think the burden is on the department to figure out, does this 4 people work well? You know,
Oh, yeah,
You know,
I get it.
most
gotta
people will be
work.
asking.
You're definitely creating a challenge for yourself in the budget process.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely,
We understand.
absolutely. It's gonna be right tight.
It's nothing new. It's been a desperate kind of a battle since the start, just to get the department back to reasonable.
Yep.
Hopefully, we're close. We're
No, but,
close.
you know, before we go to vote here again, to your whole department, chief comes to bat every single time,
yeah,
armed with data, and it gets better, and it gets better, and I appreciate that all of the different departments have been working to put it together.
I had brown hair when I started in Lakeville.
You'll be
You were
snow,
younger then too.
Yeah.
Only 5 years ago.
don't worry, you'll be Snow White by the end of your new contract. so.
Here we go.
All right, so we've got a motion, we've got a second to allocate 172,708 in ARPA funds to the Lakeville Fire Department for the purposes of adding a 4th position to each shift. Is that accurate?
One position,
One position.
4 positions, 1
1 per shift.
per shift.
And get us some data. Okay, all members in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chief, you got it?
All right. I
do we
don't know
need a
what,
vote to do the safer grant, or,
I need authorization for a safer grant.
okay,
I'll make a motion to authorize Chief O'Brien to apply for a safer grant the moment they open up.
Second.
All members in favor?
aye,
Aye. You're authorized.
I don't want to beat this to death. I know we're running late, but I really, really do appreciate it. I know it wasn't an easy decision for you guys. And Ari, thank you for the support. I appreciate it.
So, thank you, Chief.
All right.
Quick break.
Sorry.
Just, you can keep going, please.
All right, it is 6:50. Apologies to our folks for the liquor license transfer. Lorraine said to go ahead and keep going, so we still have 2 people here. So we've got liquor license transfer hearing for LeBaron Hills Country Club, 183 Rhode Island Road. So if you are involved, come on up to the table. And the first thing that we will do, we've got a lot of these lately, is read the legal notice. Okay, this was in the paper. Pursuant to Chapter 138 of the General Laws, the Lakeville Select Board, acting as the licensing board, will conduct a public hearing at 6:15 PM or later on Monday, December 11th, 2023, on the application of LeBaron Hills Country Club LLC, doing business as LeBaron Hills Country Club, for transfer of the on-premises all alcoholic beverages restaurant license for the property located at 183 Rhode Island Road, Lakeville, Massachusetts. Said hearing will be held in the Rita A. Garbutt Community Meeting Room at the Lakeville Police Station, located at 323 Bedford Street, Lakeville, Massachusetts. All right, do we have a motion to open the hearing?
so moved,
Step down and second the motion. All members in favor?
Fabi and I.
Day, aye. Hearing is open. Okay, so, good evening. Thank you again for your patience. If you don't
Yes,
mind, just
thank you.
let us, for the record, who you are and who you're representing.
Good evening, Chair and Board. My name is Craig Medeiros. I am an attorney. I also reside at 16 Priscilla Drive in Lakeville, and I've been a member at LeBaron Hills Country Club for the last 18 years. So I'm very familiar with it.
And I'm Brian Conifrey, the applicant.
Nice to meet you, sir. And both of you swear to tell only the truth this evening?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so here we are this evening. We've got all the paperwork. I usually take this moment to ask Tracy, if you're listening, do we have everything that you require at this point?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. And then we will ask if you'd like to speak to the application. I know you've been here recently, so
Sure.
you know the drill.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
could I just, I don't know if Attorney Medeiros brought the advertising check.
I can drop it off to you in the office if you want.
Okay,
if that works.
it's $75 to the town of Lakeville.
Yep, will do.
He's nodding his
Thank
head. You'll have it. All right, thank you, sir. Go right ahead.
So just on the basic merits of the application, I do have with me Brian Conifrey tonight, who is both the purchaser and the proposed manager under the license. Brian does have several years' experience in the golf industry. He is the owner of Pokoi Brook Country Golf Club in Lakeville. He has owned that for 7 years. Currently, he is listed as the manager on the Pokoi Brook license. It is the anticipation as part of this application that once we go through the ABCC purchase LeBaron Hills Country Club, that we will then have another person listed as manager under the Pokoi Brook liquor license. So obviously he's not going to be able to work both full-time. As a means of logistics, the ABCC application process is currently at about 6 weeks. It'll probably take a couple weeks after that to get the logistics of the sale down. So you're looking at an 8-week time period. LeBaron Hills Country Club is generally closed from late December until April or May. So we do have a little bit of lag time to have
Including the
another-
restaurant, or do they stay open?
So the restaurant opens in February, but they only open for a couple nights a week. I believe they do Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, and they're not open otherwise. So it's a very limited basis that they're open. So again, it gives us some lead time before the golf season actually starts to appoint another manager at Pokoi Brook. And then there'll be a different manager there, and Brian would be the manager at LeBaron Hills Country Club. So again, he does have experience. He has experience in the golf industry. He is local. He's a resident of Lakeville. So I think it would be a good thing for the town. And I would be happy to answer any of the questions the board may have regarding the transaction. I know it's somewhat convoluted to begin with.
That's all right. Members have any questions for either gentleman? I think we usually ask same operating hours, same operation essentially.
Correct. It's
Okay.
one of the most important things is kind of maintain or retain to be a private golf club.
Okay.
That's something that a lot of local residents were worried about, is that it, A, wasn't going to be a golf course, or B, it wasn't going to be private anymore. So essentially the operation's going to stay very similar. Hopefully drum up some additional business, make some rehab, refurbishments, make it a little bit nicer for the members.
Okay.
Is it the intent, because isn't one of the dining rooms open to public?
Correct. So there's a center. So there's essentially 3 rooms. There's a function facility area, which is open to the public. There's a center room, which is open to public dining. And then there's a members bar room. And then there's also an outside seating area. All the areas except for the members bar room are open to the public to eat. Over time, they've generally been underutilized. The public doesn't go there all that much. So it's something
Yeah,
that
I honestly didn't know until
Yeah.
a couple years ago that it was open to the public. Part of the dining room was open to the public, so,
So it'd be good to change that. It might be something structural or seating or even
yeah.
just advertising wise to get.
Yeah,
public
well, and
involved.
I'm only speaking on behalf of a lot of residents that say to me, you know, we need more places to go. So
Sure.
we need more places to go, just letting you know.
Right there.
Um,
Okay. Any questions for yourself?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I don't have any further questions myself. Do we have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second,
All members in favor?
Carboni, aye.
Baby and I.
And day aye,
Sorry.
thank you. It's okay. Hearing is closed. Is there any further discussion on the matter? Hearing none, anybody like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the transfer of the on-premises restaurant all alcoholic beverages license from LeBaron Operating Company, LLC, DBA LeBaron Hills Country Club, to LeBaron Hills Country Club, LLC, DBA LeBaron Hills Country Club.
Second,
Okay, thank you. All members in favor?
Carboni, aye.
Baby and I.
Day aye. Thank you very much. Appreciate your
Thank you.
patience.
Thank
This
you.
night. Good luck with the
Sorry we
operation.
made you wait.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna put the sheets away for that. Okay, so now we've got number 7, if we could go in order, discuss process and possible votes regarding the appointment of an interim town administrator. So I think where we left off from last week was, each of you had a firm you were gonna try to reach out to see if they had any guidance, names, etc. Were we successful in that?
So I was successful at reaching out to MRI who we used, for, the search that we hired Ari from. And, interesting, some information I knew, but I know we've had some informative emails come across at, how many hours or, not retired folks positions who, so like retired town administrators could work. And they usually start, depending on how many hours they put in on a weekly basis, that some of them do start timing out, between August, September. Certainly by now, most people who are retired have timed out. As far as getting specific names, I got 1 or 2, but I haven't been able to vet or not. I got one from them. I got one from a town resident. I don't know any of these people. I, wouldn't want to hire anybody sight unseen, so to speak. I have a little bit more information that I can add to the next agenda item on going forward. I don't know if we want to combine the two, but the average simple search for a permanent town administrator is about $9,500. So we would have to do quotes, and the simple searches, they do whatever, they provide us with the list of finalists, and then we would do the interviews, let's say, as a board of selectmen. Select board, sorry. The other option is over $10,000 for most firms, and that puts us into a bidding. We need to go to bid. So the recommendation I got was, if you can put a committee, if that's what your intention is to put a committee in place, the sooner you put it in place, the sooner you can start the process. So almost like hit the ground running in January. So, I feel like one of us should probably focus on, with the human resource director, on moving the actual permanent search forward. While all of us focus on trying to find an interim, but.
Did they give you a, I know we're kind of talking about 8 now, but
Yep.
did they give you like a reasonable end-to-end timeframe that they're seeing?
4 to 6 months,
Okay,
about 5 months on average. And that may or may not, depending on how quick you are and what you may not want to have them do. That may or may not include any notice that a person who is leaving their position, if they have another job, may have to
Right.
give, which
So
is
that
often
makes
90 days.
so is that the same process we used then when Ari was hired? They went out, got the candidates?
Yep.
Then we still had a panel that interviewed those finalists?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, all right, I like that process, felt good last time around.
Yeah. So.
And it might not be as expensive, just because a lot of the work was done.
Yep.
in
Less
developing
meetings. Yeah.
The document that goes out.
Yep. But I know from start to finish, Brian, I think, as a board of selectmen, we had, we reviewed the job description, we reviewed the town description, we reviewed, a whole bunch of things. We
Put that big
reviewed
package
salary.
together.
Yeah. So we did, because the job hadn't been filled, and I think Rita had been here for almost 17 years, we felt as though we had to do, a lot, but, I think the way the town is looking for more representation, I think we put a search committee in place. putting a search committee in place, of course, their recommendation, at least MRI, is, to start sooner than later, so.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good to know, 4 to 6 months, plus any notice time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And I mean, I do recall, and we may have at a couple of our meetings too during the process have said, oh, maybe that didn't have to take, I wonder why that takes so long. Just from, one, I did reach out to, the other search firm, but
Community Paradigm.
yeah, but I didn't get a hold of them. I'm sure they can work with us on that. I'm sure all these companies can do different things. If you want them to speak to your employees, which was important, 2 town administrator searches ago, they'll do that for you, because we hadn't had, anything, we hadn't had a search in a long time. So I don't think we need to, do that part. We didn't do that part last time.
If I remember right, we talked about salary quite a bit.
Yeah.
But we had the class and comp underway.
Yep.
So that'll be done soonish,
Yep.
or at least close-ish.
We have an update tomorrow, I believe.
Oh, cool.
Right?
Good timing.
Yep.
Tomorrow or Wednesday?
Or Wednesday. I don't know.
Well, if we go
Tomorrow,
long enough,
Wednesday.
it'll be tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yep.
You're right, tomorrow. My
Yeah.
apologies, yeah.
So, I think that instead of saying, okay, let's work on getting an interim, and then, once we have an interim, then because that also, let's say we hire an interim and then we don't start our search until March or so. If we're looking at the outside end of 6 months, depending on, how much time that person has to put in to get us caught up, plus it's budget season, plus there's a lot of hours that go into that. We don't want someone to be timing out and then looking for another interim or temporary.
No, I'm trying to figure out time-wise, if it's 4 to 6 months plus notice time, do we try to, this is difficult, we've got 2 more members coming on, do we try to time it to where at least the finalists are already kind of figured out, and then they're part of the final interviews? That's gonna be hard from a timing perspective.
Right, so, I mean, we can't predict, we don't even know who's running, we don't know what the makeup of the board is gonna be. However, in thinking about that, we could offer, more participation by making 2 at-large positions on the search committee. My recommendation would be, of course, the human resource director, who, the last time was the key person. That was the person who was responsible for all the communication, with the search firm. Of course, if we do the full search, we're gonna have to do all the, bid stuff. We could include, if he's willing, our town accountant, because that would cover the finance. We always have land issues. We could include, someone from the land zoning, whatever area, 1 select board member, and then a couple of at-large people. And we could leave a spot open for a second select board member after the election, if we wanted to.
Yeah, it's tough, like, I wouldn't know when to time it, because you don't want candidates sitting around waiting, right?
Right.
So if we're like, oh, we're gonna narrow you down, but then wait, oh, shoot, that happened faster than we thought it would.
Right.
And now we're gonna wait a month and a half until we got our new member, like, I could see lose people that way.
Yep.
So, I mean, I love the concept, I'm just trying to figure out when the right timing would be.
So
Or
by
if
the
we're just
time,
saying,
yeah.
no, let's just get it going.
Yeah, so by the time the bid, we would get the committee together, get a bid process out there, however that long, what is that? I mean, we could put it out for as short
6
as
weeks.
a week, or,
4 weeks it could be
Yeah.
turned around.
And then, we work with them, and then we do the description, we do the salary, so that's a couple more weeks there, because that's at
Yeah.
least another select board meeting to discuss salary and job description. And then I think when they advertise it for a couple of weeks, so now we're looking at maybe 6 weeks, so we are into
I mean, maybe whomever, assuming we use a company, maybe we put it to them, we say, look, give us 2 timeline options. Give us one if we just start now, what you think it would run to, or give us one where we really don't want this part of it to really likely happen until after April 8th or whatever it is.
Right.
To include the other 2 members or one other member, and work back from that.
Yep.
Who knows, maybe they say either way, yeah, get going.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what it is, because when I said something like, you know, we have had some talk, you know, that about an election and expanding the board. Initially, when I had talked to Buzz from MRI, he was like, I don't think you can wait that long to start your search. A lot of folks have made their move. They've decided to make their move. They're in their new spot by July 1st. And then, you know, if we don't get someone, the search doesn't go our way, so to speak, then
Right.
we're looking at having to replace the interim because they're timing out in September, October. So
Yep.
unlike, I guess, superintendents who don't have that same restriction.
Okay, do we want to then, I mean, you've thought about this a bit, the makeup, do we want to maybe have Leah work with Lacey over the next week or so to come up with a proposal, or?
Yeah, I'd like to see the
For the
packet,
permanent.
I'd like to see the packet that we used, when we went out for, our research.
Yep.
You know, what the charge was and and the makeup of that. Also the, publication that would go out for the job description as well as the, town information. I think it was probably a packet
Yeah,
went out. So
Yeah.
I'd like that.
yep,
It was a whole
yeah, a whole
Yeah.
bunch of
advertisement,
information.
basically,
Yep,
like
yep,
why you want to come to work here.
yep,
As I recall, it was about a 5 or 6 page position statement, with links to, like, the master plan,
Yeah.
budget, things like that, so, yeah.
yep.
And
The
I don't think that
most-
the topology of, you know, Lakeville's changed in, you know, the last
Yeah.
3 years anyway, so there's probably not work that has to be done for that.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
might not be as time consuming as we might anticipate, but I understand the buffer.
So I have all that stuff at home. I'm sure Lacey can get her hands on it just as quickly, but I have it
Me
all
too.
at home. So between she and I'm sure we can, you know, get it for
Yeah, and-
Monday.
And, I mean, I would even suggest include Ari in that, I mean, as someone who applied for this role, what were things that you maybe saw were missing last time we went out that, I wish they included this, we didn't have to ask.
Yeah, well, they do essays. They ask each candidate to do
Rather extensive, it's
essays.
rather extensive, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say this just, I mean, I think that, depending on how much time you want to put into this, it might be worthwhile having a conversation either among yourselves or with other key boards as to what you exactly want out of this position and what parameters you want to provide for that, because clearly there's something, you know, in the special act, but, you know, individual members have their own ideas about what they want to see out of their town administrator. And I would hate to see you setting up a situation where you're just trying to kind of, you know, buying the car but not necessarily the right car, if you know what I mean,
Yeah,
for your needs.
I could totally see us having or maybe one of us having a department head meeting of some kind and just say like, all right, like,
Yeah.
I will say this, that if you hire a consultant, they generally will, if, as part of a package, if you ask them to, go through that kind of vision
Right.
process.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah, that's why I'm interested in seeing, you know, what went out for publication.
yeah,
do we wanna, next week's agenda's pretty light, do we wanna bring that packet back?
Yes.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep,
Do you wanna have her work with Lacey to come up with a proposed group of
Charge?
people?
yep,
Yeah, proposed charge, proposed membership list, and we can dive into it a little more.
Mhm.
Okay.
yep, we can do that.
That sounds good, appreciate the info. Okay,
So that
is-
doesn't really get us
No,
to
so I
our,
think we covered 8.
Right,
as
so
far as, you know, I mean, I thought it was relevant though to kind of merge the two, but as far as, you know, an interim, you know, like I said, you know, some, community person gave me a name, someone else gave me a name, some other person gave me a name. I feel like at a minimum, we should probably talk to a couple of people who might be interested.
Yep.
You know, I don't know if we have to post, I don't know.
Nope, no, I
You
don't
know.
think we have to.
Opinion from town council is that this is a delegated role for short term and we don't have to.
Right.
It's not an appointment, it's an interim delegation.
Yep, and I also, you know, I know of somebody too, who's a retired, town manager that, you know, I reached out on my own, not on behalf of this board, but just to see if there was interest, you know, before I would even, you know, consider bringing their name forward. But this is an important and timely decision that we have to make here.
Yes.
Because I know Ari's last day is on the 19th, and I'm hoping for, you know, at least a week of, you know, transitional period. But,
I would like to see at least a week as well. A week and a half. I think Ari could get it done in a week, but I don't want to cut it too close. I mean, we're looking for, based on what you just said, hopefully 5 to 6 months of time out of these people. Personally.
Yeah, yep, I would say.
So, I mean, that fits well. It also fits within the 180 days on the act. You know, I don't think they would actually be delegated until the 19th anyways, so that gets us into early July. It gets us through town meeting,
Right,
which
Yeah.
is great.
Yep.
If we can do that.
yep,
I don't want to languish on this. I honestly don't think we have time to do a whole huge process here. If we've got some names of people that are strong in ways,
Yeah.
especially if they've worked with 5-member boards, great. And, you know, hopefully, we don't want to meet on Christmas, but hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we can at least have these discussions and then just get somebody in that's willing to help out for a few months.
yep.
I've had 2 names floated by residents so far. One I didn't recognize, one I did. And when I shared those names with other people, one person kept coming back as like, yep, that would be a good fit.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the person I spoke with, was, like I said, very interested, so I'm, you know, it's not, you know, a name I don't wanna, not that I don't wanna throw it out there, but, we need to make a decision, so, and I think that this particular person, you know, could hit the ground running, financial background, strong financial background, experience with 5-member board, knows the players, so.
So if we do a quick post, I mean, it doesn't, you know, have to be a 2-week post, right?
I'm
Meeting
not- I don't
post,
want-
you mean?
No, like, we don't have to, like, give people 2 weeks to apply.
No, I don't
We
even
can-
think we have to go through
I
that.
don't even wanna
from-
do that.
From what we've been told so far.
Yeah,
So we can just ask a couple people to come and talk to us. I just want to be sure we know the process here.
That's my understanding at this point. You know, we could each try to, well, I'm still looking at April next year. You know, over the next week or so, we could all try to individually reach out, and if we want to invite these people here, if we really want to. Lacey, I think, needs to be involved.
Yep,
I mean, Ari, I know, has offered us to be, you know, an independent voice as well, to have this conversation, and he can probably best share the ongoings of what's going on right now.
right.
And then come back the 18th, or come back 20th if we want to have another meeting, something that works. Because we're under 30 business days left with Ari.
Yep,
And the 19th, that's a Friday, so we've only got 2, if we want a week of overlap or more, I mean, we've got to have them ready to start talking like the 10th, which is not far away.
yep.
so, yeah, I definitely don't wanna put a posting out there, time-wise, we should just, you know, reach out to the individuals, you know, through Ari and invite them here for, I mean, the person that I'm thinking of, I think would be ideal, so, I'm hesitant on making a motion at this point, but,
I wouldn't want to do that till we
Yeah,
talk to
a
someone.
little early.
Yeah.
So how about recommendation, but feel free to say otherwise, how about if we all have people in mind, let's send them to Lacey and Ari, and if they can reach out, maybe just confirm interest And then it's up to us. If we want to reach out during the week, we can. And then invite them here, whether it's the 18th or another night that works next week. I just like to keep this moving.
Yep,
We don't have much time.
nope. That works.
Thoughts?
No, I think it works. I think we just gotta keep it moving, Brian, I agree.
You know, I wish we had more time to go through a more, thorough process, but I think if we can just find the right person for 5 or 6 months, then we go with it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, just a little confused. Is
Mhm.
there something that, do you want me to invite them? Do you plan to invite? I don't know what
I think we will give you and Lacey people that we've individually heard of.
okay,
And then if everybody is okay with it, perhaps have you reach out to them just to confirm interest. We don't want to bring somebody here and have them be like, oh no, that was wrong, misunderstanding.
Well, if,
Yeah, because I'm confused.
just trying to think about here, if the three of you have names in mind in
Mhm.
particular, should those not be, well, I suppose you as chairman can put them on the agenda. I didn't know whether you wanted the board to vote that.
I'm thinking you confirm these individuals have interest before we
Okay.
go putting them on the agenda.
Okay,
That's all.
okay, all right, fair enough.
Because they might have questions for you as the sitting TA to say, how are things looking budget-wise? What are some of the projects going on?
Yeah,
And then what happens when they come here on Monday?
We can have a short discussion and potentially appoint.
Okay.
I mean, Monday or some other, depending on how the scheduling works. Leah, is that acceptable, or
Yep.
are we missing anything?
Nope, I think that's good, and then, I will talk to Lacey this week, and I know I will be here next week. If for some reason she can't with the late notice, then I can definitely present,
Okay,
everything for, looking for the permanent search.
so could the three of you provide me with whatever names you're providing with me by, say, tomorrow?
yep,
Mhm.
So that I can,
if not tonight.
okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, appreciate that. Hopefully that moves things forward. Don't lose any momentum. So are 7 and 8 good for now?
Yep.
Okay, moving on then. Number 9, discussion, anything learned about the Lakeville Hospital project last week? So I think all three of us at some point had a chance to go last Tuesday to the presentation Rhino Capital was doing. Any takeaways from that evening folks would like to share?
I did walk around and speak to pretty much everybody there. My biggest, just to get a better understanding, the company that would be handling, excuse me, the assisted living and the memory care was actually, the company was there with their representation. And then I asked about the apartment building. I forgot how many, was it 200?
200
units, yeah.
And that, my question was, will Lakeville residents, have first come, first serve, for anything that was, being presented? And just the response was whoever puts a deposit down. So, I just, through the whole process, if they do end up making this a formal, submittal, to the planning board, I certainly will make sure I circle back that, if there's any way that we can allow our Lakeville residents to have, first opportunity, through whatever means that, was presented. I think that that's important. But,
Some of the questions I asked was, did they have a timeline in mind? Obviously, things could change, but that evening, a couple of them said they hoped to file for a subdivision, probably within the next quarter or so. One of them said they hoped to be able to break ground during calendar year 24, but realized that depending on how meetings with planning go, or CBA goes since part of it's 40B, it could be a little longer. And then depending on the weather, whether or not they'd want to break ground during the winter. So probably, assuming this goes forward, 2 or 3 years out at least before any of that new growth shows up. The 40B units were all rentals. they were not for sale units. The active adult cottages were for sale units. They said that they'd probably do it in stages, so they'd pick one of the 3 or 4 use types, I guess, and like build that out, then build another one out, build another one out, so it wouldn't all be in one quick shot. What else was there? Did you have anything, Leah, while I try to remember something else?
So I did ask, I cut to the chase. I said, what are you building first, basically? And the answer I got a couple times was, which is similar to what you said, but was, well, you know, probably the assisted living, because they do have the company on board with them to work on it. So, and probably the apartments. And I said, okay, so the 2 biggest components. The other cottages, you know, I did get an answer that that may possibly change with, you know, talks with the planning board or something. So, you know, so that out of everything I looked at, I'm sort of keeping that one on the back of my mind, that that may not look exactly, you know, but they're not looking for anything drastically different. It's just that component may change a little because they're supposed to be cottages. Who knows? Maybe they'll, you know, ask to do something different. But I also know that they did say that they were going to try to do some kind of, they were going to try, not promise, try, let's stress try, to do some sort of a cost analysis for the town. And I said, okay, that would be great. I don't know, you know, what that means or doesn't mean. I do know a couple of residents spoke to them. I overheard residents, so this is just me listening to other people's conversations about the intersection, and it, you know, so I would recommend anyone, if they have, you know, all these concerns, to go to planning board meetings, you know, wherever all this is. You know,
I did not realize they didn't own that one piece of the parcel that aligns with Bridge Street perfectly.
Yep.
So they'd have to come out kind of in between, well, 2 of them, but onto Main Street would be what, in between the new storage place and the funeral home?
Yeah, I think it's right.
There is one thing now, after seeing this plan, and obviously it's not a plan until it's submitted with the planning board. This is the concept at this point. I know planning has talked about it in the past, and I actually had 3 residents ask me about it that night, is whether or not that we should take another look at potentially considering the expansion of the smart growth overlay district to that space. Potentially with a limitation on the number of residential units. Because if you know a 40B is coming, a 40R is kind of like preemptively defining where those would go. It's not great, but it might give the town a shot in the arm of the 40S money and the upfront money per units. So I don't know if that's something we should consider having a joint meeting with them or just ask for a recommendation now that this looks like it's probably happening. I mean, that's a lot of units. There was, what, 2 and 3 bedrooms in that 40B?
Yep.
Well, it's definitely worth the conversation,
Yeah.
having, you know, expanding that smart growth overlay.
So maybe more to come on that.
Yeah, and I mean, so sometimes you just have mixed emotions, not because of any reason other than because both things make sense. So, you know, I'll speak very personally right now. Both my parents are in assisted living. Lots of folks know that. A lot of kindness, knowing that our family's going through that. I interviewed assisted living facilities in Plymouth, in Wareham, in Dayton, all the way up in Bridgewater, and one in Rainham, and that's where my parents are because that's as close to us as we could sort of,
Right.
you know. So I do think there's a need for that. I mean, otherwise I'd be going to Plymouth to see my parents on almost a daily basis sometimes. Of course, the flip side of that coin is my parents are in assisted living and I know how many times the ambulances get called there, so. I do feel like they are definitely giving something to the community that is a need. But as a select board member, you know, we will definitely, and that played into my, you know, my thinking tonight. A week ago, I might not have even thought the same way, but knowing, you know, that's, and they, like we said, they already have the people on board, the company on board, so I really do think that's gonna happen, and I think it's gonna happen quickly.
Probably.
You know, the assisted living and memory care, so, you know, that was one of the biggest takeaways, that's to me, is as close to a sure thing as we could possibly be right now.
Looks that way. Any other thoughts before we move on? It was quite a good crowd there that night. I'm glad to see people actually came out and asked questions.
Yeah, people
and-
staggered just like they recommended,
Yep.
and, you know, it was nice. Yep.
All right, then we'll move on, and I'm gonna apologize in advance. I suspect you're here for the back nine manager change.
Yeah.
Let's- All right, well, let's get the manager change out of the way.
15.
It's okay,
Number
you look pretty
15.
into our meeting.
Yeah, I'm sure
Aren't you?
I'm sure there's nowhere else you'd rather be right now. It's okay. We understand. All right, 15, discuss and possible vote to approve a change of manager for the back nine club. All right, Tracy, you have everything you need?
Yeah, I think so. I don't have my packet with me, but yeah, I
That's
think
okay.
we're okay.
All right. All right, welcome back.
Thank you. Craig Medeiros again, attorney, 16 Priscilla Drive. I do have Holly Mello with him.
Welcome.
Here tonight. She is the proposed manager.
All right. Members have any questions for this gentleman or Holly?
No.
No? Leah?
Nope, no
No?
questions?
Looks like plenty of experience in the field.
Mhm.
So hopefully have you already been operating kind of in that role so far there? Or?
Yes,
All right, excellent.
I've been working there about 2.5 years, but the past few weeks been helping out.
Nice, okay. I've noticed there's been a lot more PR and such going on, so
Yeah.
it's definitely been noticed.
Yeah,
All right.
very hands-on.
Excellent. All right.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the change in manager for the back nine.
Second,
Okay, all members in favor?
Carboni, aye.
baby and I.
Day aye. Thank you very much. Good luck with everything.
God, I'm
Thank you.
sorry we made you wait.
Yeah, we should have moved that up. I apologize for seeing that tucked down there. All right.
Thank you.
And, all right, you said dancing on weekends as well, right?
Yeah.
So let's go to 13, see if we can get him to go home. Review and possible vote to approve annual dancing on weekdays, public entertainment on Sundays, and coin-operated amusement licenses. And we had a list of locations published with our agenda. Of course, now I'm gonna try to find them all.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
the dancing on weekdays and public entertainment on Sundays is a new license. The back nine currently does not hold these licenses, so they're
Okay.
not included in the renewals.
Okay,
So that's
Okay,
number
so if
14.
you wanna do that separate and then go back to the renewals.
oh, thank you, pointing that out. Okay, so 14 then. Discuss and possible vote on request from dancing a weekdays license and public entertainment on Sundays license, the Back Nine Club, 17 Heritage Hill Drive.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the request for dancing on weekdays license and public entertainment on Sundays license for the Back Nine Club at 17 Heritage Hill, with an expiration date of December 31st, 2024.
Second,
Okay, you didn't give the gentleman a chance. Is there anything you want to share or?
Fair enough.
All right, appreciate it. All members in favor?
Carboni, aye.
aye.
Say aye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a great
Appreciate
night.
it. You as well. All right, so 14. Okay, do you want to go back to 10 and work our way down? Is there anybody else here waiting to go home on? What are you waiting on, sir?
I'm not waiting, I just wanna ask, what I'm trying to do is, change the zoning on building, I own a cottage in Churchill Shores. And anything under what I'm proposing, anything under 10,000, square feet, to be able to build 50% of the property. Right now, it's only 25. But if you're a business, you're allowed 50%.
So you're looking for a waiver on the zoning?
Waiver to change it to 50%, yes, sir. And I don't know how to go about it, who to go to.
So that is likely going to be the zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
So they would set you up with a hearing.
And where
of
they,
some
in
kind.
town hall?
Yes, in fact, the chair was here a little while ago, but yeah, they'll reach out to their clerk, Ari, would that be the best thing to do?
Kathy Murray.
So reach out to Kathy Murray at Town Hall, she's the clerk for ZBA. And,
Can I borrow a pen for a second? Or- And a piece of paper if you don't mind. I'm
The
sorry,
next one, I'm sorry.
I'm not good with memory, so
That's all right,
I have a pen
Yeah, I
I
got
can
it
give
all.
him.
thank you.
I got a blank piece.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Kathy Murray?
Kathy
Murray.
Yep.
Kathy with the C.
She's on the, what department in the?
She's in planning.
Planning.
Yep. So tell her it's likely a ZBA question.
And then,
Yeah.
and
She's
what do you
right
do?
there with
Put an
a,
application in, is that how it works?
She'll have a whole process to help
Yeah,
work
it's
you through.
rezoning that's gonna require town meeting vote, so.
Okay, yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah, if it's a rezone, it'll be a town meeting vote. If it's a waiver of some kind, though.
I mean, I'm not trying to change the whole town, I just anything under 10,000 square feet, because Church of Shores are all cottages.
Yep,
There are a lot of people there, they're trying to put additions, and, I've been running into a problem where I've been trying to build a garage for 2.5 years now in my property. And, cause, you know, we're gonna eventually sell the house, the other house in Lakeville, and move there
yep,
for a retirement. I mean, I'm already retired, but my wife's gonna retire soon. And then what's gonna happen, she wants to be able to drive into the house, into the garage and go into the house
sure.
without, you know, for safety and et cetera. And we're not getting any younger.
Yeah,
I mean,
none
I'm
of us
70
are.
years old now, but.
Yeah, so Kathy will definitely, so explain that scenario to Kathy and she'll be able to look up the property and give you the process. And it's probably not a short process, but it's the first domino.
It's
So-
somewhere to start.
Yep.
Right. All right, thank you
I
very
appreciate
much.
you coming out.
Yeah, yeah.
and, she's right where the clerk's office is and the treasurer's
Upstairs?
office, it's
Downstairs.
the
With
downstairs. Nope,
Downstairs.
it's downstairs.
Downstairs.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I'll
She's
find
in and on the right, but if you
All right.
go in and ask, you'll find her.
All right, thank you.
Yep,
Good
All right,
night.
have a great night.
night.
All right, 10, budget liaison. So we had left that open back in April. Especially now with Ari's departure. Is there anybody that would like to be our budget liaison for the remainder of FY 25's budget? Is
What kind of
25,
time do you have on your hands?
I can take the budget if all you working people have,
right?
I mean, how much time would be involved in this, Ari, really?
It all depends on how much deference you plan to provide to the interim TA to present the budget.
How much what?
Deference you plan to provide to the interim TA to present the budget. It's really up to the board.
It's mostly daytime meetings with department heads and such.
If that's how you want to have the liaison involved, yeah. I mean, that would
If they
be-
I
were,
don't even
that's what it
know
would be.
how they were involved.
What was the last one involved in?
Well, the board passed a bylaw, which town meeting adopted,
Yep.
which put it upon the town administrator to develop and present the budget.
Right.
Yep, yep.
So
Understood.
it's your call as to whether that means that the liaison is involved while that budget's being put together, or whether you wait for the town administrator to present the budget.
Yeah,
I mean, it's up to you guys.
That bylaw, that was to clarify something too, wasn't it? Didn't we have like two different
There
processes?
are three
or
different
something weird?
timelines in the
Oh,
bylaws.
three, that's right. So that clarified all that.
It was kind of a mess. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, you could also just have a liaison and ask that liaison, and expect that liaison to, meet with expect the TA to meet with the liaison on a regular basis on what they're doing, I guess. I honestly don't know what it's up to the board.
if the town administrator is gonna be coming to present anything about a budget, I would anticipate it being to the entire board, to the full complement of the board.
It's fine with me.
I mean, in all honesty, I can see an interim maybe asking some historical information, but
Sure.
I don't think that person couldn't get that from Todd.
Yeah,
And we've always been very
Make him the
transparent about
liaison.
that sort of thing.
Huh?
Make
Make
him
him the
the
liaison.
As you know, last year there was a dust up because one board member wanted to see the budget in advance,
Yes, that's true. Yep.
so.
I mean, I'm fine foregoing for now then. I mean,
Yep, me
honestly,
too.
I know we're all busy during the day with things going on right now.
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
We can always revisit if our interim comes in and, you
Yeah,
know, has
absolutely.
questions or whatever.
Yep, that works. Okay then, 11, review and possible vote to approve annual class 1 and class 2 license renewals, which we had a lengthy list of those. So it's number 11, back up a little. And everybody saw the note from Inspection Services Director, he had no problems, or no complaints at least.
All right, well, I guess I'll make a motion to approve, the following class 1 and class 2 license renewals, applications from January 1st, 2024 through January 1st, 2025, and the list as follows. Class 2 license renewals, Chris Altieri, DBA C&E Enterprises at 43 Freetown Street for $200. Leonardo Solano, DBA Solano Auto Sales at 18 Staple Shores Road, $200. Andrews Family Automotive, 79 Main Street, $200. Linda Burry and Jason Burry, DBA Elite Auto Sales at 431 Bedford Street for $200. And Grigas, did I say that right? Grigas Automotive Services, Inc., Shonick Auto Body and Repairs at 35 Bedford Street for $200. And David Rose, DBA Dave's Auto at 67 Main Street for $200, for a total class 2 license renewal fees for $1,200. The following class 1 license renewal, Russo's Recreation Rentals, Inc. at 150 Bedford Street, $200. Route 44 Collision Center RVs and Boats, 8 Harding Street, $200, for a total class 1 renewal fees totaling $400.
Did you say all licenses to expire?
I did.
Second.
Okay, January 125. Okay, all members in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Moving on to 12, review and possible vote to approve annual common victual license renewals, the attached locations. Now, I asked Tracy before the two of you came, so Baldy's and LeBaron on here are for their existing owners, since those transfers are still backed up with ABCC and such.
Okay.
Okay. Well, then I will make a motion to approve the annual common victular license renewals with an expiration date of December 31st, 2024. Are as follows: Baldy's Pizzeria Inc., 40 Main Street; Royal Pizza, 68 Main Street; Tanned Inc., DBA Subway, 330 Bedford Street; Next Dine LLC for Ocean Spray, 1 Ocean Spray Drive; B9 Club Inc., DBA The Back 9 Club at 17 Heritage Hill Road; McCoy Brook Golf Club LLC, DBA McCoy Brook Pub at 20 Leonard Street; Hawaii Corp., DBA Orchid of Hawaii Restaurant at 201 Bedford Street; Lakeville is it Airy at number 3994 Fraternal Order of Eagles Inc. at 217 County Street; Lakeville Golf Club Inc., DBA Lakeville Golf Club at 44 Clear Pond Road; Assawamsett Golf Company LLC, DBA LeBaron Hill Country Club at 183 Rhode Island Road; Ken & L Inc., DBA Saga Sushi at 9 Harding Street; Sandy LLC, Dunkin' Donuts at 330 Bedford Street; J&J's Seafood Drive-In, 197 County Street; and then MAJJT Properties LLC, DBA Fat Cousins at 166 County Street.
Second.
In discussion?
Yes. Tracy, do we have the one, is this the right one where we always have one person that is lingering? Is that the one on the list, or are we waiting for them still?
That gentleman came in the beginning of November and submitted his application before he left for Florida. However, we do have one outstanding, and it
Okay.
is the school's vendor.
Okay,
Which is not on this
Alright.
list.
They are not on that list. They have not submitted their renewals yet.
Okay.
okay. Well, thank you to that gentleman for getting in before going to Florida. We appreciate it. And, The schools, we've got one more meeting for the rest of the year.
I have spoken to the cafeteria director, and informed her that they had not renewed yet. They were sent out the last week in October,
What was their response?
that they would notify the vendor. And they hoped to have it back in sometime this week.
Okay, all right, well, we did what we could. All right, so we got a motion and a second for all those that were read. All members in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And back to 13, review and possible vote to approve annual dancing on weekdays, public entertainment on Sundays, and coin-operated amusement licenses for the attached locations. Are these all the same end date? Yes. Yep.
Except for,
Looks like it.
Wait a minute, did I
Livery.
miss something here?
December, what's that?
The title's incorrect. I just
Okay,
used,
all right.
Yeah,
So it
titles,
just,
copy and pasted, I think.
Well, actually, here's 14. You're in 14, right?
No, we're at 13.
13.
You're in 13.
The title in the packet says Common Vic, but then the licenses are the dancing, the
Right,
coin op, and
Yeah, yeah.
oh, okay. All right, that's where I was a little confused.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so, I would like to make a motion, to approve the following, licenses that are up for renewal. A livery license expires on December 31st, 2024 for JP's Limousine Service for one vehicle. A motion to approve the dancing on weekdays. All licenses expire December 31st, 2024 for the following: Assawamsett Golf Club, LLC, DBA LeBaron Hills Country Club, Hawaii Corp., DBA Orchid of Hawaii Restaurant, Lakeville Golf Club, Inc., DBA Lakeville Golf Club, Lakeville Erie, number 3994, Fraternal Order of the Eagles, Inc. The following motion to include the coin-operated amusements with the expiration of December 31st, 2024. The Lakeville Erie, number 3994, Fraternal Order of the Eagles for 2 machines. Lakeville Golf Club, Inc., DBA Lakeville Golf Club for 1 machine. And the following to include the public entertainment on Sundays, for Sundays during 2024, and the license will expire on December 31st, 2024. Assawamsett Golf Club, LLC, DBA LeBaron Hills Country Club, Hawaii Corp., DBA Orchid of Hawaii Restaurant, Lakeville Golf Club, Inc., DBA Lakeville Golf Club, and Lakeville Erie, I can never know what that's supposed to be, number 3994, Fraternal Order of Eagles, Inc.
second.
Okay, first and second, any further discussion? All members in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. Thank you for reading all those lists.
You're welcome.
All right, so then we are on to 16 building committee updates. Anything on the senior center?
Nothing other than we have a meeting on Wednesday.
Okay,
Excellent.
and do they owe you updated pricing or something at this meeting?
Yes,
Okay,
and some scope clarification.
Yep.
scope and dollar sign. Fire station?
We met, this past week and, with our architect, Mark Sakosho. We kind of talked about, our next steps and, working on a timeline, which will come back to the body. But the first thing that we did was we designated and voted a subcommittee to look at the space needs for, the future fire station. So we put together that, I guess the participants that would be, on that particular subcommittee. But one of the things that I wanted to bring back to this board is, in your minds, you probably have some ideas of things that you'd like to see in that space. So I'm asking you to take a moment to think about it. This group is meeting next Wednesday, the 18th, Ari?
I believe that's correct, yeah.
To start their kickoff, and that'll be a during the day meeting. But input from here, from this board, would be prudent too. Things that you would like to see in that facility. So if you could just, maybe send a quick email through, to Christina or Ari. I mean, I don't wanna overstep any open meetings law violations for sending it through me, but, so anything, it could, you know, they'll flush everything out, but, nothing's off the table at this point, so, put your thinking caps on and,
Have they, maybe it's too early, but have they recommended any, like, I don't wanna say neighboring communities, but communities that are not too far away, that like, hey, you should go check these
Oh, yeah.
out to get
Oh, yeah.
inspiration?
yep, the chief has been, you know, very, forthwith with, you know, other communities that we can, you know, do a field trip.
Okay.
So that we could see what a, you know, called it a Taj Mahal fire station versus a functional fire station. And, I know that our fire chief is very focused on, you know, presenting a functional fire station.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good.
and that was, you know, if you do get a chance to watch, LakeCAM did record the meeting for us, and, you know, just good information came out and good dialogue. But if you could just, you know, before the 18th, if you get a moment, just, you know, send a quick email to Mary Christina, you know,
Okay.
some of the things that you'd like to see in the space.
Thank you for that. Okay, moving on to Old Colony. So, on December 8th, they held their interviews for the final 3 OPMs. Those were Left Field, Colliers, and PMA Consultants. By the end of that, the OPM selection group selected PMA Consultants to move forward to the Old Colony School Committee. They're the same company that is working with BP, and they've done some other VOTEC schools in the area, as I'm told. The person they named that would be the project director is from Rochester, right where Old Colony is, and I think they said the program manager is from Carver, so at least they're kind of nearby and have an idea of what's going on. So they are going to present that on the 20th, I believe. They're going to present that to the school board on the 20th, and then they have to submit on January 10th to the MSBA for final review and approval. And then we'll see. So this will go into February, I believe, by the time the OPM is approved by MSBA. So probably not too many updates until then.
Okay,
If there's no questions, do we have any new business or old business to talk about? Hearing none, let's see. Correspondence is one from the Arts Council to the ZBA. They're looking for a variance to move their stage from its current location to another. Did they actually hold that meeting the other night? Was that on ZBA's agenda?
I don't believe it's been held yet.
Hasn't been held yet?
I don't
Okay.
believe so, I could be wrong about that.
All right. Yeah, really nice to hear when, old business actually, Ari, and Leah, when do you think we'll probably talk about Moon Pond again? Next week, or Moon Pond launch contract?
Next week,
Next week, okay.
assuming we can get everything done, you know, we got a little bit sidetracked because of, you know, with the medical situations.
Right,
But-
right.
but-
Yep.
But there's a draft out, we got some comments back, finalizing it now, hopefully we'll get that out. I wanna get this to the board, I don't want the first time you see it to be with the packet. So I wanna try to get that out to the board early this week,
Okay.
so if it's ready, then we'll get it to you, and then we'll have support the board next week.
The only other semi-related thing under, I don't even know if it's new or old business, but just related to that, is that, Arts Council, as we all saw, reached out about ensuring that they still have access to the pond, Loon Pond Lodge without a room fee, so perhaps in a future meeting, we gotta figure out policy or talk to Parks to make sure certain people aren't concerned with that going forward.
Yeah, I think, isn't it reflected that the select board makes that call? Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I think the
Yeah.
reason why we did that was because we have more, well, first of all, access to the town administrator who can do all kinds of research for us to make sure whoever's asking if it's a new group is actually a town organization, keeps their funds with the town and everything else, so,
So
okay.
probably something will come up. Anything else? We're on to a motion to adjourn.
Second,
All members in favor?
all right.
Aye, thank you very much. Thank you, LakeCAM.